my name is Allira and I'm a pet and equine photographer. Taking photos of animals can be really fun but also challenging. So in this video, I'm going to explain to you how to get the very best photos of your furry friends. Photographing pets is very different to portrait photography. In this video, I'm going to talk you through some common pet photography mistakes and how to overcome them to improve your pet photography. So, what makes a good pet portrait? There's a few key things to consider when photographing animals. Things such as camera settings, lighting, and backdrop are all really important, but the most important thing is being able to read the animal's body language. Making sure they're not nervous or anxious, because that will show in your images, and also knowing when it's time to take a break. By knowing how the pet feels, we are able to bring out the best in their personality and allow them to enjoy the photography process. It is easy to tell in images when a pet is stressed or nervous, and as pet photographers, it's our job to capture the very best images of our furry friends. A pet that is happy to be around the photographer and enjoying themselves during the session will provide you with lots of big smiles and be enthusiastic to pose, therefore giving you the very best photos of them. I started my pet photography journey and gained a lot of knowledge during my time volunteering for a rescue group. I met dogs and cats of all breeds, energy levels, ages, and behaviours. During these years, I learned how to get their attention, pose them in the most flattering light, keep them still even for a second, and watch their body language. Pets don't know where to look, so it's our job to get their attention and help them smile at the camera. For most pets, having their ears forward and looking at the camera is their way of smiling. But of course, many creative images are captured of pets when they are looking out of the frame or in a different direction. It can take a bit of practice, patience, and creativity to get the right image, but that's the fun and rewarding process of pet photography. Sometimes things don't always go to plan. When photographing pets, you need to be prepared for anything. Some common mistakes can be avoided with some pre-planning and preparation. For example, in theory, it sounds really easy just to go to a park and photograph a dog. What if the park is busy? What if the other people are around? What do you do then? One of the most common mistakes pet photographers can make is not having a plan for keeping the subject's attention. Animals react differently to different stimuli. Getting to know what they like, whether that's toys or treats or something else entirely. You can then use it to get their attention or try to make a certain sound or noise with your mouth. I use noise makers such as squeakers, whistles, clickers, and an app on my phone that plays dog, cat, and horse noises. I also make my own noises such as dogs crying, barking, and panting. And yes, I do get some strange looks from pet parents from time to time. I also grab small sticks, stones, and leaves around me and toss them in the air, which usually captures their attention. For cats, I use cat wands, toys, and feathers. No matter what technique you use, no animal will react the same way every time you try and grab their attention. Always be ready to capture the picture if you're able to get them to face the camera. If all else fails, just ask yourself, why isn't my subject paying attention? For example, if a park is very busy and a dog is distracted, it may help to move to a quieter part of the park to help gain their attention and keep them interested in your photo session. Troubleshooting is all part of the job, and sometimes the smallest change can make the biggest difference. While sometimes challenging, it is not impossible to get that perfect pet photo. So what can be done to improve your pet photography? The right camera setting and gear can make all the difference. Pets are fast, and because of this, a high shutter speed is needed to capture their action. My go-to lenses for pet photography are my 70-200mm f2.8 and my 135mm f2 lenses, which allows me to open up the aperture nice and wide to let a lot of light into the sensor and maintain a fast shutter speed. I do like to use my nifty 50mm f1.4 lens for some close-up portrait shots too, as this adds variety in a photo session. A camera with a high frame rate will also come in handy when it is time for some action shots. For dogs and cats, I tend to fire away and let the camera capture as many frames per second as it can. When it comes to camera settings, I have a few different settings depending on the situation. When I'm capturing still portraits of pets, I like to keep my shutter speed above 1/500th of a second and my ISO as low as possible to reduce noise in the image. For any movement and action shots, my shutter speed is at least 1/1600th of a second to freeze the motion unless I want to capture interesting panning shots, which I then will lower the shutter speed and play around with it to get some intentional movement and blur. I would recommend using a fast shutter speed that is at least 2 times faster than your lens focal length to keep your images sharp regardless of movement. For example, if you're using a 50mm lens, set your shutter speed to at least 1/100th of a second. It never hurts to add a few hundredths of a second just in case. My aperture is almost always set to f2 or f2.8, depending on the lens I'm using, and I only change this to f4 or f5.6 when capturing group shots with multiple dogs or portraits with pets and their parents where the subject can be on different focus planes. It is critical that eyes are always in focus and sharp on photos, as having a pet in focus but the owner blurry is not ideal. My style of photography relies on natural outdoor light. Typically, my photo sessions start about 90 minutes before sunset to capture all that amazing golden sunlight. As afternoon turns to evening, I need to keep adjusting my camera settings as the sunlight starts to fade. I try and balance this out by either raising the ISO slightly to allow more light sensitivity on the camera sensor, or slowing down the shutter speed to allow more light to enter the sensor. I always try and position my subjects so that they are facing a big open sky with sun shining through the trees, bushes, or shrubs behind them. It is so important to light up your subject well, and having a big open sky allows all the surrounding light into their faces. Dark dogs can be tricky to photograph, but when I position them correctly and edit them using masks and the shadow slider in Adobe Lightroom, I can get all their details back very easily. For cats, I find midday to early afternoon sessions when the light is very bright and enters the house is ideal. I position the cat on a bed, the floor, or a scratcher, so they are facing a big open window which helps light them beautifully. How to edit pet photos in Lightroom. Using Lightroom, I will adjust the highlights, shadows, color temperature, contrast, sharpness, and color balance of the image. As each photo location is different, my settings during the editing will vary, but I still follow the same steps. To help quicken the process, I synchronize settings from one image to another if they were captured in the same spot. With the new and updated masking tools in Lightroom, it is so much easier to help brighten subjects or edit the background of an image like never before. Lightroom is able to detect objects so much easier, which then means those dark dogs that were photographed can now be lightened much quicker by selecting them with a mask and adjusting the exposure and shadows. After this, I move over to Adobe Photoshop and remove any leashes used to position the dogs during the session. I would say about 90% of my canine sessions are on leash. Safety is my #1 priority when taking photos, always. With these tips, I hope you've gained a lot more confidence to practice your pet photography, to go out there and capture some truly awesome photos.